Hi, everyone. We're going to start in about 30 seconds or so. I'm just giving you a little bit of time to get ready. Feel free to write your comments in the chat. You'll see that you won't be able to turn on microphones or anything like that. But if you want to say hello, please write it in the chat. Please let me know where you're from, what languages you're teaching. Apparently, over 700 people have registered. So we normally get about half the numbers. So I'm expecting about 350 or so. I see there's 200 in the room right now and it's climbing all the time. So no pressure at all. And it's really lovely to be here. So I'm just going to wait a couple of seconds before we start, if that's okay, just to make sure that everyone's got the screen loaded up for you. And welcome to the Language Show Online. It's lovely to be here. Fantastic. Yeah, wow, yeah, the numbers are going up and up. I've got my Twitter open as well, so feel free to tweet during the session, and I'll be monitoring the chat the whole time on my second screen. So I think we'll make a start, if that's okay. And I'd like to offer a very warm welcome to everybody. It's really lovely to see you. This is the first of two sessions I'm doing today independently, and I'm also helping Helen Myers for the show and tell. And we are looking for show and tell people. So if you fancy showing and telling for about 5 minutes, then please come along to that session as well. And let's go for it. Okay, so again, thank you for coming. As I'm sure you all know, I've spoken at the Language Show many, many times over the years. But my background is I was a languages teacher for 13 years, teaching secondary school level for 3 years, and then 10 years at a middle school on the Isle of Wight, where I am right now. And it's a very horrible rainy day here. As they would say in Scotland, it's very dreich. And they're not very nice. It's lovely to be inside in the warm, speaking to everyone here. It's lovely. So for the last 10 years or so, I've been an independent languages consultant. And normally I travel around the world running training on the use of how technology can be used to enhance language learning. But of course, as of March, as of lockdown, as of the pandemic, I wasn't able to do that. And I had to turn my business on its head and make a living through webinars. So I'm a little bit zoomed out, but it's all good. And let's make a start. Also, my Twitter handle there is @JoeDale. I surpassed 30,000 followers a couple of weeks ago, which is a bit crazy, but I have been on Twitter for 13 years. And my email address is joedale@talk21.com. And let's go to the first slide. So this is what we're going to try and do in the next 45 minutes or so. As you can see, we're going to be looking at a variety of different tools, all of which have been showcased by the MFL Twitterati. If you haven't heard of the MFL Twitterati, where have you been? No, we haven't heard of the MFL Twitterati. It's a community of language teachers, language consultants, and language organizations from the UK and from Ireland. The hashtag has been used by teachers from all over the world for many, many years. And I always recommend people taking the 10-minute challenge, which is having a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or your beverage of choice while checking the MFL Twitterati hashtag. And probably every time you do that, you'll come up with a really nice gem that you can put straight into your teaching. Okay. Right. The first thing I was going to talk about, I mentioned the pandemic starting in March. I thought it'd be a really good idea for me to put together a comprehensive Google Doc with all the different articles and links and tutorials that I was coming across on social media, on Twitter and on Facebook. And so that's exactly what I did. I created this Google Doc, which at the time was about 18 pages. It's now over 40 pages. I haven't actually been updating it recently because, believe it or not, I've been focusing on other things. I've been a little bit busy, but you've got the link there at the bottom. You can click on that and you can see access to all the different resources. So because it was such a big document, I decided to categorize it into different sections. So as you can see, I've got getting started. I've got the World Language Teachers share tips on remote learning, video conferencing tools. So everything you can imagine that you would need in a remote teaching context, but also lots of ideas you can apply in a hybrid teaching context, or whichever context you find yourself in at the moment with the pandemic. Okay, so you should find that really useful, I think. Right, let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so also back in March, myself and my friend Helen Myers for the Association for Language Learning, we literally both had the same idea at the same time, which was to put on a whole range of different webinars to support language teachers, not only in the UK, but also from around the world. Helen's been doing webinars for many years, but we decided to do between 2 and 3 a week. So over the Easter break, I remember we were doing 3 a week during that time, because there was obviously a huge need for people to upskill themselves on how to do emergency remote teaching. and I did most of the scouting, as it were, and leveraging my community, my global community of language teachers who could help with the support required at the time. We started off in a very organized way with ideas around using Google Classroom in a sort of a Google environment. We then went on to Microsoft and how to manage Teams, how to do video conferencing and all the rest of it. We went on to ideas around screencasting. We then got a bit more creative and went into ideas around escape rooms and virtual adventures. And more recently, we've been focusing on hybrid teaching, whereby you might be teaching face-to-face as well as having people coming in from their homes. So Zoomies and Roomies, which is a quote from Meredith White, who is one of our US teachers who gave a TILT webinar for us recently. So TILT stands for Technology and Language Teaching. And you can see here, if I click on the link, that what Helen has done is on the AWL London website, she's created a database, which I can give you a flavor of right now. If I click on this right now, you'll see that there is a whole host of different sessions that we've been doing, over 50 since March. And what Helen has done as a labor of love is she's put in all the different tags for you to find the content that you want quickly and easily. So it's really, well, I think considering this is completely free, I think we're both very proud of what we've been doing to help the community. And I'm sure that the community, well, I know the community very much appreciates it, which is just lovely. Not only in the UK, but from around the world. And I've had comments about people saying from, say, the States, saying, oh, yes, been binge watching all those videos, which is just lovely. And if you go onto my YouTube channel, which you see is at the bottom there, Jodale 100, the recordings of all the webinars are there as well. Thank you, Stephanie. I really appreciate that. So yeah, on my YouTube channel, Jodale 100, you can access all the recordings as well. And we haven't stopped, we're still doing more, but we've cut down to about 2 or 3 a month at the moment, because believe it or not, we're both very busy. And then, well, there is still a need, but there's not as the same need as there was before, I think. Right, you may have come across the Bitmoji Craze for Educators Facebook group, which I was really inspired by back in March. There's over 500,000 members of it. And one of the things which I particularly liked was the way in which some of the teachers were using the iMovie app for iOS, iPhone and iPad, and using the trailer option in the iMovie app in order to create an advert or presenting a learning objective or giving feedback to students. So I thought, yeah, that's brilliant. So I took some Bitmojis using the Bitmoji Chrome extension, and I made this little 1-minute advert for the TILT webinars, just to clarify, what was happening at the time back in March, and then what we did about it. And you may recognize yourself if you shared one of your Bitmojis with me at the time. Here we go. There we are. So really easy to do. You just use the template in the trailers. That one's called Superheroes, if I remember correctly. And yeah, very simple to put together that sort of little advert, as it were. Okay, so I'm gonna drill down into a couple of tools which have proved really, really useful during the lockdown. So this is Flipgrid. Jane Bassnett, who is head of languages at Downhouse School. She's also the digital lead across her whole school. So I'm sure she's been incredibly busy as well. She works in a Microsoft Showcase school. Flipgrid is a Microsoft tool, which is particularly good for asynchronous speaking practice. If you have used Flipgrid before, please share top tips in the chat. But as you can see on the left-hand side there, you've got Jane, who is combining her video with an image and annotating over the top. So you can see that in this example, she's going over some grammar. It's actually the simple future, I think, in French. So she's creating like a flipped model In other words, the students can access that asynchronously whenever they need to, remind themselves of the grammar point that she's going over there, which is wonderful. That's officially called a Flipgrid short, which is like a standalone video. But the basic idea is that you create different grids, which are now known as groups, and different topics. So a topic is like a lesson, and a group is like a class. So you create a group, you make it private. You need to use a Google email address or Microsoft email address to create your account. You can add students as usernames or as emails, but it's a very safe and moderated system to use. On the right hand side there, you've got a screenshot of a grammar point around the perfect tense using être as the auxiliary, again from Jane. So again, she is annotating over the top, she's capturing her voice, and she's got the image. In relation to moderation, before you also start getting worried about videos, you can moderate all the videos if you want to. You can also add filters over the top of the children's faces to make them pixelated. You can also add an emoji over the face, or you can add a picture to cover their face completely. On the left-hand side there, you've got a video from an educator from the States called Sam Carey. Yes, we always get the question about, am I showing the PowerPoint? Yes, I am showing this Google Slides presentation on the last slide, so don't worry, it's all good. Right, so this educator is called Sam Carey, and he has an amazing YouTube channel called the New EdTech Classroom, like that, which I'm just putting in the chat for you. And he's done a video called How to Teach Remotely with Flipgrid, as well as another one which I'm going to mention in a second. But his YouTube channel is a fantastic treasure trove of cool tutorials around EdTech ideas, which you'll find useful. You've got Jess there on the bottom right talking about some of the ways you can use Flipgrid for using whiteboard and blackboard, stop motion animation, screen recording, inking or annotating on the screen, etc., etc. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. So in the next slide, as I mentioned on the right-hand side there, that is actually Sam loving his haircut for obvious reasons. And you can see he's done a video called Assigning Work with Topics and Groups, which is really comprehensive, really fantastic. And then on the left-hand side, that's Mike Tolson, who works for Microsoft, and he's done a video recently called How to Text Comments for Video Responses in Flipgrid, because that's a new feature they've added. They've been upgrading Flipgrid quite a lot recently, and one of the new options is now to add a text comment as well as a video comment as well, which is fantastic. Thank you for the reinforcement there from Pascal. Yeah, I agree, Sam is amazing. And again, I put the link to the YouTube clips there as well. This is a screenshot from a school in the Middle East back in April, talking about how they were using Flipgrid in language lessons. So you can see they've written some really lovely videos from Year 9 this morning on Flipgrid, even got a subjunctive, such communicative confidence. So this is, Flipgrid is really nice for improving the children's confidence in their speaking. They can record as many times as they need to before they're happy to publish. Just fantastic. And there's lots of other creative things you can do with it as well. So you can see that they've said, we may not be face-to-face, but Zoom, Flipgrid, and Google Hangouts are our next best things, which is great. Underneath, you've got the new screen recording feature, which is only available in the web version of Flipgrid, but apparently it's coming soon to the app version as well. And then on the right-hand side, you've got the fact that you have a Chrome and a Microsoft Edge extension, which means you can record your video straight from the browser. I haven't got time to show you the screen recording feature today, but in other videos on my YouTube channel, what I've done is I've gone onto Google Earth, which is why I've got the title there, gone onto Google Earth, and I've been recording my screen at the same time. On the left-hand side, you've got the different icons. I normally click on the one that looks like a dice, which is the I'm feeling lucky option. So if you click on that, it means it will basically take you anywhere in the world. You have no idea where you're going, but you hover over the place, the location that you're taken to. And then you could then ask in the target language, okay, what can you see? And the children might say, okay, I can see a river, I can see a mountain, I can see a city, I can see a volcano, whatever it might be. And then on the right-hand side, bottom right, you've got the little peg man, the orange peg man. And if you drag him on top of the pin, which is on the screen, you'll then go straight into zoom into Street View. And then you can then again say, okay, what's the weather like? What can we see? You might see some signs somewhere. You might see some people. What have they just done? What are they going to do? What are they thinking? So in a way, this is a type of way of practicing the GCSE photo card, but by using Google Earth. So it makes it even more dynamic. That's the idea. Okay. So let's carry on. This slide is for if you're using Microsoft Teams or Google Classroom. Whenever I'm presenting about a different tool or app, people always say, does this work with Google Classroom or does this work with Microsoft Teams. And so that's why I put that slide there with some information from Flipgrid, as well as from Holly Clark, who's an educator from the States, giving advice on how you have that integration. So essentially any videos that you share, you get the Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom icon, which you click on to share it straight to those places, which is great to see, I think. This is also something which is important to say, that you need to have parental permission for your students to use Flipgrid. Obviously, it goes without saying that you need to adhere to any e-safety policy in your school, but this is the official form from Flipgrid, which you can then send to parents, get them to give permission, and then you can then ask the children to post their videos onto Flipgrid. But I've talked already about the moderation and about hiding their faces as well. If you go, again, if you watch another video on my YouTube channel, I go through this in detail, but I'm just giving you a flavor today. I don't have time to do that today. Right, so believe it or not, during lockdown, I was asking the MFL Twitterati lots and lots of questions. And one of them was, as you can see here, as you've all been teaching remotely for a number of weeks now, what would you say your do's and don'ts of online teaching? And then the second question I ask in the middle, how do you ensure interaction with your students when teaching either synchronously or asynchronously? So what I've been trying to do during the pandemic is identify different themes, think about ways in which I can help, different suggestions that I can give to support individuals or departments or districts or what have you. And the MFL Twitterati, as always, came up trumps, and they send me lots and lots of different replies. So I just condensed all of those down into these following bullet points. And again, you've got the Google Doc link at the bottom there for you to have a look at this. But just to see the first point, which is something that a lot of people talked about, keeping students organized using Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, or Show My Homework, put all the activities and links in one hyperdoc or presentation or OneNote or whatever it might be, and ask students to fill in their answers in text boxes or grid cells in a table. In other words, try to make it as simple as possible for the students to submit their work and to access any links or videos or what have you that you want them to access. So having everything in the one-stop shop place for them to go to make it as simple as possible. And that's something that I saw quite a lot in the replies that I received when I asked that question. Right. So another thing which I found really inspiring during the pandemic was Chris Betcher, who is an educator from Australia, north of Sydney. I've actually stayed with Chris one time a few years ago when I was lucky enough to go to Australia for some training. And he is a Google certified trainer, and he produced a Google form which showcased different types of questions you can have in a Google form. And so I was really inspired by that, and I thought I would make a language-specific version, which I'm going to give you a flavor of right now. So as you can see here, I've explained how to turn a form into a quiz. If you go onto YouTube, there's lots of different tutorials on how to do that. But I always start off with the question, what is your surname? What is your first name? Because you can then generate a Google Sheet with everyone's answers there. And you can then click on the surname column and put it into alphabetical order from A to Z. And as a result of that, it will then mirror your mark book. So that's a really nice tip, I think. So as you can see here, I've got the exercise types at the top for each one, and then a description of how to put these Google form questions into practice. So the first one, what is the past participle of the verb aller in French? I'm using the multiple choice option, and so there's only one right answer. You just click on the radio button and away you go. This one is multiple choice again, but you've got the image options. You add an image per question type, per answer type. As you can see here, which picture represents la natation in French? That's obviously swimming, so you just click on the radio button there. This one, I've used the snipping tool to grab some text from a page. This actual example I made in Google Drawing, but obviously you could grab whatever text you wanted, put it into the Google form, make that into a multiple choice question. There's also a Google form add-on called Snip, but I just really like the snipping tool, so I use that one normally. This one, you've got different answers as images, so it just gives you a bit more flexibility. How's this person feeling? And you just click on the correct face there. True or false, so that's just a multiple choice one again. Multiple choice again, this one's quite fun. So you've got different listening activities here. So the idea is, what is the correct pronunciation of answer one? I just want to give you a quick flavor of how to do this. So if I go to a new page and I go to online voice recorder, I just record some audio. Okay, this is an example of how to record some audio using the free tool onlinevoicerecorder.com, which works on all devices. I can record some audio, I can edit the beginning and the end, I can then export it as an MP3 file and upload it into Google Drive. Once I put it into Google Drive, I can then right-click the individual file, or I can create a folder and put all the audio into that one folder, right-click that and make it what's called a shareable link. So when you click on the Get Link option, what will happen is it will come up, it will say restricted. So you click on the restricted option and then you make it either anyone with a link or anyone in your domain. Once you've done that, you then copy the link and you paste it into the Google form. Okay, I've just recorded a little bit of audio there. As you can see, I can now move the beginning and the end and click save. And then click save. And then I'm not actually going to show you how to upload it to my Google Drive because we're obviously recording this right now, but hopefully you get the idea on how that works. And then as a result of that, I can now click on any of these links. It will show me my Google Drive, that particular file, and I can click play.
Answer 1.
Okay, there we are. So that's how that works. So that's how you can have listening within a Google form. This one is multiple choice grid. So here you've got the matching activity whereby you're matching French with English. Very, very straightforward. And it shuffles. I've enabled shuffle row order for this particular exercise. So it shuffles them each time. This one is putting the words or the short phrases into the correct order. It's always best to have the shorter items either say numbers or letters along the top and the longer items down the side. Again, they shuffle them each time. This one is putting a dialogue back into the correct order. Again, I wouldn't go more than 9 here because otherwise you get the scrolling toolbar and it gets a bit unmanageable. This one is called a drop down one. This has got, if you've got lots of right answers here. Oh, so lots of potential answers here. There's only actually one right answer, but you just click on that one. That's another alternative to multiple choice. This one is check boxes. So you've got 2 right answers here and 2 wrong answers. You just check the correct ones. This one is similar to what I've done already. So you just click on this file, listen to the audio, and then you simply select the answers which are correct and you leave the ones which are not correct as blank. Classic grammar activity. So you just conjugate the verb correctly and write the answer here. This one is embedding a YouTube clip. So you just write the correct answer there. It has to be like a right or wrong answer to tell the Google form what to mark as correct. This one is different sports with either jouer or faire. So again, you've got different possible answers for each one, more than one right answer. That's called the tick box grid. This one's quite nice. So this is Vocaroo. So again, if you go to a new page, I'm sure you all know Vocaroo, but have you ever used it in conjunction with Google Forms? So if I click, there we are. I misspelled it, but still remembered it. Here we go. This is how you copy and paste a Vocaroo link to practice speaking into a Google form for asynchronous speaking practice. There we are. You click save and share, you click copy, you then go back to your form and you paste in your answer like that. And that's a really nice way of collecting all the audio from the class for, say, a homework or what have you, all in the same Google Sheet. And the last one is a linear scale. That's just promoting student voice. So you just simply select the one that you think matches your opinion. Online learning is a good idea. There we are. So let's go back to my presentation and we can then go from there. Okay, I shared that Google form example on social media. A Spanish teacher got in contact and shared her example. So as you can see here, and she's showing this with permission, she's using sentence builders, which have been particularly promoted by Dr. Gianfranco Conti. You've also got the narrow reading activities likewise as well. So that's how this teacher is incorporating those. And you've got the multiple choice image option there as well. So yeah, really, really nice to see examples from my tutorials. Okay, so this is Flippity Randomizer. This has been going down an absolute storm recently. I'll just give you again a flavor of how this works. So based on the idea of sentence builders, which are very popular at the moment, you take one item from each column and it generates one item randomly from each column, and that makes up your sentence. So if I click the spinning wheel now, I have said already, I'm going to give you the whole presentation, so don't worry, it's all good. Right, so I can then spin this as many times as I want to, and different things come up. So as you can see here, it's saying, I do not like to go to the cinema, but when it rains, and then you then click again to make an even longer sentence. Now, another little thing you can do here is I've installed the Chrome extension called Helper Bird, which is here, Helper Bird, and that gives me access to tools and Immersive Reader. So you haven't seen Immersive Reader before, it should recognize the language automatically. It's a Microsoft tool. And if I click play, we'll see what happens.
cinema mais quando il pleut.
Okay, occasionally it does it in English, which is hilarious, obviously. But if I refresh the page and we do it again, it should work this time. Let's right click that. Tools, immersive reader. Let's go again.
J'aime le sport avec mes amis, mais quand il y a du soleil.
There we are. So it worked that time. Flippity is completely free. For the person that just asked me that in the chat. Right, you can have a male voice, female voice. You can slow her down. She sounds a bit drunk. Let's have a listen to this one.
J'aime le sport avec mes amis, mais quand il y a du soleil.
There we are. Okay, so that's just a really nice way of using Flippity Randomizer in conjunction with Helper Bird and Immersive Reader. So with Flippity, you have to have a Google Sheet for each exercise. The instructions are there on the flippity.net website and how to create the template. It's or how to copy the template. It's very, very simple and easy. So this is the example that I used, and I turned it into a Flippity Randomizer exercise. Right, here's some feedback from different teachers in the MFL Twitterati. So you can see here that Alice Smith School are saying, thank you to me for the Flippity recommendation. Our year sixes have enjoyed experimenting and generating sentences using the vocabulary that Giddings Polly had imported. Miss B German is saying, we had time phrases, pronouns and verbs and span it to get the sentence we had to create, which is great. Jade is talking here about Mike Elliott's video, which I'm going to show you in a second. Mike's probably watching right now. If you are, thank you for your video, Mike. And again, Jade is then talking about using sentence building in relation to Flipgrid. Okay, this is Mrs. Bellacat, Catherine Bellas, who's a friend of mine who sent this information to me about how she's using Flippity in her classroom. So I love this sort of like step-by-step instructions. And you can see here she's using it for practicing the target language as well as for translation. And I love the bit at the end here. P.S. If the wheel generates something ridiculous like Christmas in June or I hate football because it's great, the class shouts n'importe quoi, which is just fantastic, isn't it? Okay. Here's a little video clip. I haven't got time to actually show this to you right now, but I want to give you a flavor of what Mike is doing in this video. Again, I'm going to share the presentation with you, so just click on the link. But basically, Mike is recording the screen using Flipgrid, which is easy to do. You could use things like Loom or Screencastify as well, or other ways of recording the screen. But he spins the wheel. When the random sentence comes up, he then pronounces the random sentence, and then he then translates it into English. So the idea, you could do, say, 10 sentences as a speaking homework, as long as the children knew how to record their screen. But obviously you could model that with them, and then that's a nice way of giving them some speaking practice, pronunciation practice, and translation practice. So again, you can watch the video there in your own time if you're interested. Another way of using Flippity is using the exercise called Flippity Manipulatives. If I just click on the link right now, I'll give you a flavor of how this works. So you can use Vocaroo to add some audio, which you put into the Google Sheet, which I sort of demonstrated a moment ago. You listen to the audio like this.
Last week I went to the cinema to watch the latest James Bond film. It was great. Afterwards, I went to the restaurant.
Okay, so all I'm doing now is I'm just putting the tiles into the correct order. So you can customize this whichever language you want, whatever short phrases you want to use. And then the audio is deleted after, I think, 3 months, but then you can just re-record the audio and add it back into the Google Sheet. So really simple to create asynchronous listening comprehension practice as well. So I'd encourage you to try that one out. Okay, and you can see some other activities you can do here, for example, scavenger hunts or flashcards or spellings or whatever it might be. So something for everybody in relation to using this for language teaching. Right, this is called Quicker Conversations. I haven't really got time to show this live to you, but I've shown this many times in other sessions. So essentially the way that it works, let's just go for it. It's better, it's easier for me just to actually show you rather than just saying otherwise. Right, let's just go for it. Right, so it's called quicker.education. You have to be logged in, which I am, for you. I then click create instant feedback and I click start a quicker conversation. Okay, you can put in a title or a tag to organize your links, but I'm just going to record and go for it. Here we go. Blah, 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 blah. This is an example of using quicker conversation. I'm recording the first line of my conversation, but I could be recording a presentation, or I could be recording a dialogue to share with my students. Then I click stop. Okay, it's uploaded onto servers in the UK. This was created by a physics teacher in the southwest of England. I can add a photo, which could be preparation for the photo card. I can add in text as well, giving instructions on what I want the children to do. And I can add a web link as well. I can also remove certain types of media possibilities on the screen. So I'm only going to see the microphone one when I share the link in a moment. And I can also moderate the conversation, which is fantastic. And I can now click Start Your Quick Conversation. Right, I'm now going to copy the link into the chat like this. Okay, and I would love you to click on that link and record some audio for me, and then you can then publish it onto the Quicker screen very quickly. And I'm going to show you this live right now. So on my iPad, on my second screen, third screen even, I'm going to launch my camera, and I need to bring up the QR code first of all. So I'm going to put a QR code on the screen, and I'm going to quickly scan that QR code like this. And now I've got the microphone on my screen. So I'm going to click the button and press record. Here we go. And click allow. Okay, this is an example of the second response. So this could be, for example, answering a question or doing a threaded conversation around a dialogue, or I could add this into a breakout room and all the children could then all record their different answers, and no one can hear anyone else's answers until I have approved them. So it's really nice from that point of view. Then I press stop, it uploads, and I can see on the screen, you've all been stars and lots of information has appeared. So I can now listen to one of these like this. I'm going to launch my camera, and okay, so that's me. That's someone's recorded that, but that's obviously me talking. Let's see if I can find another example. Let's have a listen here.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for the
Okay, this is an example of these. You get it. So yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone. So I'm presuming this is all appropriate content. I'm sure it will be. I can approve everything, and it's all then appeared on the screen. So really, really nice way of being able to, yeah, there's obviously too many for me to approve right now, but thank you so much. And then you can lock the conversation at the end like that. And then that means no one else can then add their audio to that. To answer about the QR code, this is just a Chrome extension I've got installed, which is called the QR code extension, if I remember correctly. And that's how that works. Okay. So hopefully that's giving you an idea of how you can use this for speaking practice in a remote context or in a hybrid context. Okay. Brilliant. Here are some screenshots of different tweets that people have shared recently around using Quicker. You can see here that Karine is saying that she's used Quicker Feedback to record my voice on a QR code, made a gap-filled text in Pages by speaking to my iPad, and then blanked out words with Apple Pencil. Students practice their listening and grammar and thinking skills all in one go. Sarah Bell from Invocad MFL is saying, have been exploring different ways of giving feedback when pupils submit photos of work, no tablet or magic pen, but before I pasted into Word, then commented, then today I remember Quicker Feedback, I can live mark and send a unique link to each pupil. Turnbull Modern Languages, also up in Scotland. Thanks, Creative Sammy, for the inspiration. These might be my new thing. Use Quicker Feedback to give detailed pointers to AH, which I presume is their form, on how to improve their essays. And we also did a nice QR code dictate and translation race with Hire. You've got Claire Wilson there, Leo Languages, talking about enjoyed using Quicker for a speaking homework. Nice to hear some students speaking German given the current limitations in the classroom. Miss Burke, I love being able to continue doing speaking practice thanks to Quicker Feedback. I particularly like the emphatic hola señorita at the start of each recording. And then Vincent Everett from AWL, Head of Languages near Norwich. I've used it with Year 12 Spanish for voice-to-voice dictation. They listen and repeat back a bit longer each time until they can do the whole text or summarize it or answer a question. Simple, spontaneous responses, not a presentation, just like in the classroom. And again, I put the links to all those people's tweets there because attribution is, of course, very important. This is a Street View mystery by Vincent. Again, I'm just going to click exit here, and I'm just going to quickly play you a few seconds of this video. So if you haven't seen this, it's a completely free resource which Vincent has made around Street View. I'll just move it to here.
The questions underneath are very much...
So what he's done is he's got different points in the town of Vesoul in France. He's made different clues. and he's got the clues in the target language as text, but also he asked the MFL Twitterati if they could record some audio. I think he only asked native speakers, I think, if I'm correct. And so different members of the MFL Twitterati played the role of the old man or the old woman or the young girl, recorded their audio, and then he's included the quicker feedback QR code on the resource so the children can listen to the audio as another way of solving the clue. So it's sort of a multimodal approach, which is just really fantastic. And again, you can download his content on the TES website for free. Okay, here's an article which I wrote for the Linguoscope Facebook group, Modern Languages Teachers Lounge, which at the time was public, is now private. So I've now added that article into a Google Doc, which I've got at the bottom of the screen. And this took me a couple of days to write. It's essentially condensing lots and lots of different bits of advice around speaking ideas using technology according to whether you are using a Google environment, a Microsoft environment, or a cross-platform environment. So you should find that very useful as well. This is another website which we included within our Tilt webinars. So this is by Paul Rain from Japan. He's a Japanese lecturer, and he's created this website called teachertools.digital. I think you can have up to 10 assignments for free, but then you have to pay, but you can do lots of things for free, and you can record your speaking and also give audio feedback, which is really, really nice. So I'd really encourage you to check that one out if you haven't heard of it, because I think it's fabulous. Here's some ideas around feedback, which Esmeralda Salgado has created. So you can see that she's got a fantastic blog called MFL Craft. She's Botones Salgado on Twitter, and she's been amazing during lockdown, as well as people like Jane Bassnett and other people. So here are some ideas about feedback using technology, but it's very much research led. So she talks about the work of John Hattie. Dylan William is a nice, another great person to look for ideas around feedback as well. And yeah, she's got some techie solutions on how to do feedback in a remote context or a hybrid context. I thought we'd have a bit of fun at this point as well, which is I wanted to give a big shout out to Esther Park, who's an educator from the States, who came up with this idea of personalized animated feedback using this process here of making your own animated GIFs, which you can then add into Google Keep and drag and drop into Google Docs or Google Slides. And so I've made my own version, and I've done a literal step-by-step guide according to different platforms that you're using. And I'd really encourage you to have a look at that. If you have a look at Meredith White's Twitter account as well, who's again has been a speaker at our Tilt webinars. She's been doing lots of these recently, and it's just quite a fun way of giving more personalized feedback, I think. And again, you've got some links there, some different YouTube clips describing how to do that, or examples of people doing this. Okay, whiteboard.fi has also proved incredibly popular by the MFL Twitterati. So if you haven't seen it, essentially you create your class, you give the students the link or the code, they get all their individual whiteboards, they write on their board, and it all appears on the main screen. So you could again use that in a remote teaching context or in a hybrid context with Roomies and Zoomies. I've got some quotes here from different people in the MFL Twitterati. My favorite one is the one on the left-hand side, Ms. Ganzorn, saying, thank you very much. I will think about ways I can use it in my class. Thank you again for whiteboard.fi. It is the highlight of my lockdown. I think my year 10 will be forever grateful to you for it, which is just fantastic. So lots of people in the MFL Twitterati have been shouting the praises of whiteboard.fi, and it's completely free, and it was designed by a teacher. I did a search on Twitter for mini whiteboard ideas, and I came across these two. So the one on the left-hand side is from Samantha Decker back in 2013. So all those ideas you could then use in conjunction with whiteboard.fi. And then Claire Hampson from Thirsk School, and she has done a blog post back in 2012, again, about lots of ideas on how you can use mini whiteboards. So you just need to, translate them into a digital context, and away you go. Right, we've got enough time to watch this whole video. So I asked teachers during lockdown if they'd experienced a pedagogical paradigm shift during lockdown and how it had changed, all the different things they've been trying. And I'm going to play the whole video for you. It's about 2-3 minutes, but it's well worth it. And it's really humbling to see of all the reflections and all the things that teachers have been doing during lockdown and beyond. So it's got some cool music as well. Have a watch, and hopefully you'll be nodding along as well. Here we go. There we are. So while that video was playing, I was trying to answer some of the questions in the chat. Just a little point. Obviously, I need to make a living out of doing webinars and what have you. I can't travel anywhere at the moment. So I made this little GIF using Keynote and a website called remove.bg, which is fantastic for removing the background. And then I just use the magic move feature in Keynote to make this animation. But if you are interested in me helping you either as a department or as a district or what have you, or language association, then here are 18 example sessions that I can offer around remote teaching, hybrid teaching ideas. Again, you've got the link at the bottom there, and I would love to hear from you. And that's the presentation. So I'll just quickly put in is.gd/language show. I think it might be language show 1 actually. Just try both. My other presentation is language show 2. So I think I may have made a mistake about that. So apologies if that is the case. But I think it actually should be language show 1, because obviously this is my first presentation. Then the Bitmoji one is language show 2. So if you really want to, you can have a look at that straight away and then decide whether you want to come along and see me talking about it live. But cool. Yeah, we've got 3 minutes to go. Let me see if there's any other questions in the chat. Let me just quickly put this in. In fact, let me just put in both. So it's is.gd/language show 2. As I said, I think that this one should be language show 1, but let me just go through if there's anything else I want to answer. Right. So yeah, so that's right. So Lisa, so the audio disappears after 3 months, both on Vocaroo and on Quicker, but all you have to do is right click the player, all those players that came up, you right click them, you can click save as, so you can then download the audio that way. But if you pay, I think it's like £1.50 a month, then you can keep the audio for as long as you want to. Okay, I've given a guide about the MFL Twitterati. So if you go to tinyurl.com/MFL Twitterati guide, you can hear more about it. Right, so all the audio is saved in a threaded conversation under that one link. That's the power of it for Quicker, but you can save everything as an individual file, as I've said. Right, so yeah, so the link, all the links in my slides will be clickable. Obviously, you can't click on the screen, so I'm just showing my screen. You can't click on the shared screen, but if you access the presentation, everything will be clickable. You can use Bitmojis for feedback. I'm going to be doing a whole session about Bitmojis at 2 o'clock today. I know it's a lot of information, but we are recording this and you've got the presentation as well. And you can always ask me questions on Twitter later. I think that's everything. There are over 300 people here. So obviously a lot of questions, right? Yeah, I've answered that one already. It will work with Mandarin and Arabic. I don't see why not, because as long as you can put it into a Google Sheet, it should be fine. I think that's everything I needed to cover. And I think in a moment, hopefully Jonathan's going to cut me off. So I can see I've got a couple of questions in the Q&A. You can take screenshots. That's not a problem. Hopefully you've been tweeting them already. That's great. Okay, so again, the Bitmoji, I'm going to be talking about that later on. I've already shared the Google Slides link with you, so there's no PowerPoint. It's right. I've already talked about Flipgrid, so that's for asynchronous speaking practice. Have a look on my YouTube channel to find out more examples of me actually demonstrating each step. And okay, there's okay, I've been asked about pronunciation practice. There's a website called Forvo, Forvo, which gives pronunciation practice. You'd have to check out whether it's appropriate for primary age students, but I would do what Vincent did, ask some people using Quicker Conversations to record their audio for you to pronounce different words. And there's also the voice selection options in iOS and Android and Windows to play audio back with pretty good model pronunciation. Help a Bird Immersive Reader is a really nice way of doing that as well. Okay, we've gone over time, so I'm going to leave the session now. Thank you ever so much, everybody. I really, really appreciate it. And Thank you so much for coming along. And if you want to see me again, I'm on again at 2 o'clock, as well as the show and tell. If you want to come along to the show and tell, that's at 5 o'clock. And we are looking for showers and tellers. So it'd be lovely for you to share some good practice as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care and bye for now.